Welcome to Looking at Legal Stuff. Today we have day 4 of 6 days of testimony in an epic length evidentiary hearing that takes place when Mum files a motion for reconsideration after the court decides to change custody based on an FOC report that recommends a dad have custody during the week because evidence from the school shows that their daughter has had so many unexcused absences from school that she's been found truant in the past, and the vast majority of the lates and tardies she has had have been during Mum's custody time. Dad's lawyer says he's also worried about the people that Mum allows around their daughter and the state of the home that they live in. There has also been some questionable behavior by Mum that makes Dad and others wonder if she's struggling with substance abuse. Mum is a mess who breaks down crying at the start over not having her lawyer show up. The legal aid lawyer that she claims has been helping her out is a no-show for the hearing and hasn't entered an appearance. She says she doesn't know what to do, but the referee tells her she's had months and months to prepare for this hearing, so she'll just have to do it herself. Will Mum get it together and make it through this hearing, or will her testimony and evidence be as messy and chaotic as she seems to be in the beginning? Let's find out. Make sure you've seen the previous days of testimony in this case, starting with day 1, which includes their opening statements and testimony from the truant officer. Day 2 has testimony from Mum and Dad, as well as several family friends. And day 3 is 2.5 hours of Mum cross-examining Dad. All of the videos will be linked for you below.
All right. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in giving testimony?
I do.
All right. We left off after cross-examination by the defendant against the plaintiff. Mr. Chadwick, you may re-examine your client.
All right. Mr. Coleman, you have been around people who have been tested for drugs. Is that true?
Correct.
How? In what capacity?
I worked for Comprehensive Recovery Services in Michigan for a year.
What did you do for them?
I was a drug testing technician.
And what kind of drugs were you testing?
It was a 14-panel drug screen. Methamphetamine, marijuana. I don't remember what's on the 14-panel drug screen. So it was a broad spectrum.
Some of the best ones.
Yeah.
Are you still employed there?
I am not.
How long were you employed there?
1 year from February 20th, 2020 to between February. Let me take that back. It was February 13th, 2020 to February 21st of 2020.
Okay. When you were being cross-examined, you were discussing a June 6, 2023 incident at your house where Ms. Wright was picking up Savannah for parenting time. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes.
You described Ms. Wright's behavior as going from, quote, extreme low to extreme high, end quote. What did you mean by that?
The extreme low was her crying.
Oh, I just stepped on
Just
something.
crying.
What the hell was that?
And then just kind of, I guess, being, I don't know if you'd say irrational, but just crying in like a depressive state.
Okay. How did that affect Savannah?
Savannah was scared.
Okay. Was that unusual? In other words, the time before that, the parenting time exchange before June 6, 2023, was that one similar or different?
That one was different.
How would you describe that time before?
The time before, she wasn't crying. She depressive state. She was conversational. She was normal.
Okay. She meaning Ms. Wright?
Correct.
And then the time after that, same thing, normal?
I can't recall.
Did Ms. Wright ever explain to you why she behaved that way on that day?
No.
I wrote down from your testimony during your cross-examination the two words counting cards. Is that something that you have done with Savannah or Ms. Wright has done with Savannah?
Something Miss Wright has done with Savannah.
All right.
All right, can you repeat that? It was kind of soft.
Counting cards.
Yes. No, his answer.
And what was the answer?
Something Miss
Yeah.
Wright has done with Savannah.
All right. Is that something you could do with her?
I could. I have to look up how to do it, but I could.
Okay, that's probably something you could work out with the primary care physician.
Yes.
Okay. And work with Ms. Holly to make sure that Savannah gets the right amount of carbs each day.
Yes.
She also described physical activity 3 times a week, which includes walks to school. Is that something that you could do with Savannah?
Not from my house because I live 7 miles away.
Walks to school are out for you, but is physical activity 3 times a week something that you could do with Savannah?
Yes.
All right. Why do you say there's no food in Ms. Wright's house?
Uh, it's stuff I've heard from Savannah.
Okay. Has there been times when Savannah has asked you to come over because she was hungry and bring food?
Yes.
Okay, how often has that happened?
Once or twice.
That's all I have. I don't have any further questions.
I was expecting more. I apologize. Okay. Ma'am, is there any cross examination on this witness?
Yeah. So I guess Tyler, you're saying that you can do physical activity with her. I guess why have you not, if you're able to, and we already had that from the doctor saying she should do that, why have you not been doing that with her?
I have done physical activity with her. I don't know why you assume that I haven't.
Just based on what she said and what you guys were just saying, what do you guys do for physical activity then?
I have a mile-long trail by my house that goes to the state park.
How frequently do you do that? Because as I recall, you had just mentioned that you don't do that in a conversation we had.
When was this conversation?
Can you answer the
Um,
question? How frequently do you go on the mile long bike?
Not every day, every so often.
Okay. And then you also brought up, okay, so the incident you're talking about, June 6th, I think you said, when I came to pick her up. You don't recall why I was upset that day? Our conversation about it?
I don't, no, I don't.
Or having her an extra day? Isn't it true that you had her an extra day when I came to pick her up? Because that's what she had asked. She had asked to stay longer and I allowed it.
No, it's not true.
So what would your explanation be as to why we'd be splitting the weekend time since we both have from Friday until Monday?
You had come to pick her up. You were crying for no reason. All irrational. You scared our child. Our child hid behind me before you interrupt me like I know you want to do. Our child hid behind me. And then you tried pulling on her. And then she went up on the porch. Then you went at the porch and threatened harm on my mom.
So my question for you is, why would I have been picking her up in the middle of the weekend? Like in the middle of either one of our times?
I would ask the court to take judicial notice that June 6, 2023 was a Tuesday.
It was a Tuesday because I mean, that might be the date. Then I think that date might be wrong that you guys have on there. Because it was definitely a weekend.
It was a Saturday.
Okay.
It was a
Miss-
Saturday.
Ms. Wright, you may testify yourself as well on
Okay.
these events, so. But continue cross-examination, please.
Okay. But Tyler, I heard you say it was a Saturday.
I know it was a Saturday.
Okay.
I may have the date wrong, but I know it was a Saturday.
Okay. Thank you. And you said that you did work for a place where you've been around people that have to come get drug tests, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So how many of those drug tests were positive?
That was 3 years ago. I can't recall.
Okay. So you're not sure that the people that you were interacting with, if they were actually on drugs or not on drugs when they came in to get their tests done.
There were a few that were on drugs, yes.
So you know that they had a positive test. Or
I
are you
don't-
just assuming?
No, I don't know how many had a positive test, but there were a few that came in that were on drugs, yes.
And you know that by what?
By a positive drug test and the way they were.
Okay, that's kind of what I was getting at. I just didn't know if you were just making assumptions as to who was on drugs or who was not, based on that. So with your interaction with those people getting drug tested, can you explain what that would have to do with our case here?
I believe there was a question as to whether he would understand what a person under the influence of drugs was, and that's in the past. That is in my notes, so.
Okay,
I think that's what he was testifying to.
Okay,
From what I
all
could
right.
tell. You were asking the questions that I was going to ask as well, if you didn't, which
Okay.
is, because I'm going to further ask what kind of training you had, sir, to give those drug tests.
What kind of training?
Yes.
My boss trained me to do it.
Okay. Did that training include looking for or any kind of assessment of usage and or the symptomology of someone under the influence?
Yes,
Okay, so you had training and on those issues.
yes.
Okay. Because those were going to be my questions as well. I figured I'd just cut to the chase, Mr. Chadwick, sorry. Miss Wright? I think we have her frozen. We'll see if she gets back. Cut out and we'll get her back in here shortly.
What? While we're waiting for her, can I use that? Yeah, can we go
Certainly,
off
of
record?
course. Certainly. We'll go off the record and take a recess. Yeah, I had those questions anyway. I was going to ask them, so I figured I'd just cut and get them articulately done. That way we could get them over and done with before she started.
I'm looking at my notes. I wrote down what,
I don't know how much you blacked out on that, but I had those same questions about whether he had been trained in observations, and his answer was yes. So part of his training for, because that was going to be my other question for him was, what kind of training he received, and he did answer those questions because I had those questions on the side. I'm sorry I took them over from you. I just figured I'd cut to the chase on those.
No, that's okay. That's kind of where I was going with it, just to, yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Let me just. Oh, okay. So Tyler, you were saying, the reason you said that, or you were under the impression there was no food was because Savannah had said that. In that event, the one or two times that she said that, do you recall like contacting me to see if it was just her wanting something different or if she was actually hungry?
I believe one of those times I did and nobody answered the phone.
Okay. But you, do you think, like looking at her, would you think that she lacks food in either of our houses?
What are you saying here?
My question is like, looking at her, I mean, knowing her, does she appear to be underfed or without food?
I know she doesn't like food at my house. I don't know what goes on at your house. I don't live there.
Right. I'm just saying, would it be, I mean, if looking at her, if she was missing food 4 days a week, would that make sense?
That wouldn't make sense, no.
Okay.
Well, she's not at your house 4 straight days in a week.
Well, 4 of the 7, she's with you 3 days, she's with me 4 days.
Okay.
I don't think I have any
No problem.
other questions.
Anything else, Mr. Chadwick?
I've got 4 exhibits I'd like to have admitted. These were in my notes from July 3.
Have they already been testified to and they're just backup, or do we need examination and cross-examination on them?
I don't believe they've been testified to, but Tyler could, if
We
there's.
may need to, because then she gets to cross-examine on any further exhibits. What are the exhibits? Let's find out what they are first, to find out if they're just perfunctory or substantive.
Exhibit number 1 are dozens of pictures of Tyler and Savannah.
Okay, let me see if I can find them. Oh, yes, I did find it. Are we sure that wasn't exhibit 4? No. I'm just looking for pictures. I apologize. I don't see any pictures like that.
It's 8 pages. There are 1 or 2 pictures on.
Oh, never mind. I found them. Like I told you off the record, many of your exhibits weren't well labeled and they all got mixed up. Yeah, it was plaintiff's exhibit 1 is what it's listed as, and it wound up being in the middle of all the pile. So, all right. Miss Wright, any objections? Did you receive the pictures? I think we've gone over this before. You had them.
Yeah.
They were by email. They're just about 8
They're
pages of pictures of he and Savannah.
I
In
don't
other
have
words,
any
they're not,
objections.
yeah, they're not substantive in any way.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with them being
Okay.
entered. I guess I just don't I mean I know the
It's
time we both spend with each other, so
right,
with each other,
right,
so that's fine.
right. That'll be marked as exhibit number 8. What's the next one, sir?
Next one is exhibit 2. I'll put it on the screen.
That would be the picture of somebody in a car and I see the hand. No, that's exhibit 3. Your
Yeah.
proposed exhibit 3.
Car at the gas station. I'll share it.
Okay.
Please.
I think I did see that one somewhere. I just have to find it.
It's been marked on the right side. Plaintiff's exhibit 2, gas station photo number 1.
Yeah.
Guy standing there in a red outfit.
Yeah, I've seen it. I know it's in this stack, but like I said, the stack is not well diverse, marked. So it's just a 3-inch stack of paper and everything wants to stick to one another. Okay, found it. Exhibit 9, gas station picture. Any objection to that, Miss Wright? Again, not
No.
very substantive. Okay.
Yeah,
Next, Mr. Chadwick.
Next one is exhibit 3.
Right, and that's
Here.
kind of an odd picture.
Yes.
It really doesn't tell me much, but okay. So you're offering that as exhibit number 10. And it's listed as gas station photo. I take it.
Yeah, I don't believe it's at a gas station, but that's how we labeled it. It's at the school.
It's at the school. Okay. I mean, there's not much to it because you can't identify who it is.
The point of these pictures is Matt has no driver's license at all.
Okay.
Driving his daughter around in the vehicle.
And again, you can't identify who's in this picture driving.
Well, you took the picture, is that right?
I took the picture.
Yeah.
And that's Matt driving.
Okay.
Who's in there with him?
I
Holly's
guess I can't even see.
I
mean,
know.
I've got my reading glasses on and I can't even see
Yeah,
that
I
that's
know. Okay, you
car.
can.
and that's Holly.
You have testified to that already. So this exhibit has been testified to. I guess we can enter it as Exhibit 10. I don't know if there's any objection. I mean, it's
I
not
mean,
very helpful. There's not
yeah,
much
I
to it.
guess I would.
The blue's a nice
I don't know if
color.
it's out of my mind, out of line to say I object, but I don't even
Well,
know that that's my car.
yeah, I'll overrule the objection because I'm not sure I can, I'll give this the weight necessary to, because
Okay.
nobody can really identify who's in there. So be a
Okay.
good picture for like one of those haunted shows that say, look at the ghost in the.
Two more.
right.
Yeah.
5.
Certainly.
And I'll share this one. Exhibit 5 is a Ionia County Animal Shelter incident report.
Didn't we already enter that?
There are 2. This is the
There.
prior one.
Okay.
Share.
Department of Police, Department of State Police, State Police. Thank you. That helps me figure out what I'm looking for in the stack.
Yep.
Spend more time looking for it than.
That was my early life as an attorney. I'd sit at the table, counselor's table, and I'd be flipping through papers the whole time. It was miserable.
Yes. Yeah, I used to, when I went into the courtroom, I would place all my exhibits upside down with their number, with proposed numbers on them.
Yeah.
Forensic test. Alcohol drug determinations. This has also been testified to, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
This is just the incident report that backs it up.
Yes.
Miss Wright, do you have any questions on that one?
I'm trying to zoom in because it looks like this one says something about Montcalm County.
Right.
And I know nothing about this one. So I guess.
Well, that's why it was testified to, that it was part of the report about, I believe, that this animal had previous problems. That you had
It's all
exposed your
in
daughter
one.
to.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's all in one. Okay, I think we
Right.
already. It was just
Yeah.
part of the other one.
Correct.
Okay, because at first, what I could see, not being able to like scroll through each page, that first page that just said something about Montcalm County, and I had
Right.
nothing about that one. But this is 2 different
Right.
reports in one.
Yeah.
Exhibit, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, Mr. Chadwick, that's why I couldn't find it, because it is attached to your Exhibit 6, or what was entered as Exhibit 6.
Okay.
It came in as 1. So that's already been entered. Because both of those entries were already testified to and entered into evidence as Exhibit number 6. So it's already in.
All
Next.
right, I'll withdraw that one.
Well, I'm not going to let you withdraw it. It's already entered.
So what we would propose as Exhibit 11 is our Exhibit 10.
Sure, I've got Exhibit 9 sitting right here. Let's see if I can find 10. What is it?
I don't think we need Exhibit 10. Well, I had a question mark before, so that's it. Yeah, we don't.
Oh, okay. You don't need that one?
Nope.
Oh, come on. I'm in the middle of searching for it. Give me a chance.
My staff did a lot of work putting them together, but we don't always need them all.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my motions for Friday came with an entire ream of paper worth of stuff to read. I'm looking at it going, it's close to 500 pages. And I'm like, okay, I've got how long to read this?
I tell my clients, you your referee is never going to know as much as I know about your case, and he's certainly
Right.
going to know as much as you know about your case.
That's about it. That's why I always worry about my
Focus
decisions.
on it. You want him to remember because he can't remember it all. But
Right. Well, that's why I rewatch these hearings before I make a decision. And I re-go over everything. So, all right. I think that you're resting at this point, Mr. Chadwick.
yes,
All right. Ms. Wright, you may call your first witness. I know you said your dad had a meeting at 10. Do you have any other witnesses other than your father?
My mother as well.
Okay. Is she
And
available?
they're both available. I just have to
All right. Choose wisely
send them
and
a message.
let me know which one you want to start with.
Just gonna check and see if my dad is done with his meeting real quick.
Well, you said it
He
didn't
just,
start till 10.
I
So,
know he just sent me a text. Text me if you need anything. Okay.
all right.
Yep. I'm gonna send him the
then-
Zoom information
Certainly.
real quick.
No, unfortunately, I try to read my motions at least twice. That one's going to probably take hours just to read through the first time. Because, of course, it's single spaced.
Let me.
Would you like me to go off the record?
I'm hoping that she's going to be here any minute. I hate to go off and then back on, and then
Okay.
figured we just.
I'm not sure. I just texted it to my mom.
okay.
Maybe you were right, Rebecca. We probably should have gone off if it's taken this long, but
I'm sorry.
Let me see where I'm
yes.
stuck.
And we have your daughter not on video, mostly because her Wi-Fi connection is not that good. So we need to hear from her more than see her.
There.
All right. We are back on the record in the matter of Coleman versus Wright, case number 13-10960 DC. Nancy Wright, you've been called as a witness in this matter, so please raise your right hand, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in giving testimony?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Wright, you may question your witness.
Okay.
Hi, Mom.
Am I just telling what I know about?
You will be questioned by your daughter. Sorry about that.
Okay.
That's the way this works. So Holly, tread lightly. You are questioning your mother.
Yep.
But any evidence comes into court through questions and answers. All
Okay.
right. So she will question you. You just answer. All right.
Okay.
Please proceed, ladies.
Okay.
How would you describe the relationship between myself and Savannah?
Oh, a loving relationship. You're the mom, she's the daughter. Sometimes you don't agree, but you're doing what's best for her. I think you guys have a great relationship.
I know you've been in our lives since she's been born and before that.
Definitely.
What would you say about my ability to make sure she has the necessities, food, water, clothes, a home?
Well, you've always taken care of all the kids. You have the ability to do that. You have since Zach was little. And as far as Savannah goes, you have the same ability.
How would you describe the relationship between Tyler and Savannah?
Well, I think they have, well, I'm gonna be truthful here. I'm gonna tell you what I've said ever since Savannah was born, and we've been going through this stuff. I think that Tyler sees Savannah as a possession instead of a daughter. I can elaborate on that as far as just from what I've seen. And I've said that always. I've always said that. I'm not saying that they don't have a good relationship, because who wouldn't have a good relationship with someone who buys them everything they want?
Can you explain what you mean by, or give an example of how you said that he sees her more as a possession?
Oh, even when she was a baby. When you'd be at work and I would be there when they'd be picking up, it's like, this is mine, this is mine, it's hard to explain. But if you would say, No, because he said it. He said she's mine. I mean, she's mine. She's not my daughter. She's mine. I mean, it's just she can't do this. She can't do that. She's mine. I mean, he said it.
What would you,
Because when she was little, there's a lot of things at school. He'll come to school. He doesn't need, I mean, sure, come to school and visit your kid. And I came to school and visit you guys when you were little. But at school, he'd just come to school and unannounced and kind of embarrass her and stuff. But that's okay because it's mine.
Jack, there's a lack of foundation.
Right.
Excuse me, she's saying what she's witnessed.
Yeah, exactly.
Did the witness witness this, or was there any foundation?
That's the test. That's
Yeah.
well,
I've seen
okay.
I mean, Savannah used to go to school out here when they lived out here.
Mom,
they
can you
look-
The question is whether you were there when you saw Tyler at the school, or you were told that.
explain
Hold
what
on.
you do as a job?
All right, guys, ma'am,
Yes.
is this
Yes, I
something
have.
you actually were standing there and you observed?
Yes, I've seen Tyler at the school.
Okay.
I went
I was going to say that's what the testimony sounded like, Mr. Chadwick. I didn't think there was any foundational questions to it because the way she was describing it is she was describing it as something she'd observed.
Yes.
She may continue the objections overruled.
I mean,
Mom, just for the record, can you explain what you do for a job? Where you
I'm a
work?
school teacher. And prior to that, I worked at Apple Tree Learning Center.
Have you
What's
ever
it-
worked at Vanna's school or at Apple Tree while she was there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you, I know you and I don't always get along, so it's been kind of rocky, but can you explain, in your eyes, have you witnessed the effect that even going through court and everything has had on Vanna?
Oh, yes, very much so. I've spoken to Savannah in detail. I've also had the police at my house after I picked Savannah up because Tyler calling. So yeah, on more than one occasion.
What
And
what can you say of,
Well,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
that's okay. I can give two examples. Once at Christmas time when you were in the hospital and it was your weekend because you guys had switched. So it was your weekend. So rather than her being over there, she wanted to come home with me. So I brought her home with me. I went to Tyler's house and picked her up. He allowed her to come with me, the bed in such a shambles.
Okay.
And yeah.
So I don't even know. I don't know if this is appropriate to ask like this, but so you've seen where she sleeps. Does she have a bed? Have you been able to see if she has a bed that she can sleep in?
No. Only her dad's bed as far as I know.
Okay. What can you say about us hearing either one of us? I mean, again, you can't say what we've said, but just
Right.
Not specifics, but as far as either of us saying negative things about the other one, I'm talking about Tyler and I in front of Savannah.
Oh, I've heard several things. As far as you go, I've heard you tell Savannah, Daddy's just, when I can't say what she has, I can't say what she did, but I have heard you tell Savannah, don't worry about it, Daddy will be fine. He'll be in a better mood later, or whatever. I've heard him talk about you in a negative way, as far as like, for example, I got to do this without saying what she said, but that makes it hard.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, I've heard him say, "Oh, she's so stupid." Oh, just silly things like that. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's doing drugs. Just silly stuff that make no sense. Just to try to, in my opinion, trying to make himself look better. Trying to make himself look better.
Since you've been part of Vanna's life since day one.
Since day one.
Well, yes. What would you say you know, in this, we're talking about changing custody. And I think what they're proposing is that she's only with me a couple days a month. And I think it even says no overnights. What effect do you think that would have on Savannah? And do you think that that would be in her best interest?
That would have a spiral down effect on Savannah. That would not be in her best interest. That would not be in her best interest. No, I mean, Savannah is an 11-year-old that has her kid already, and looks like she's sleeping in her father's bed. That's wrong. That's my opinion. That's wrong. But at this time in her life, with everything that's going on with her body changes and stuff, she needs to be with her mom. She needs to be with her mom.
And can you clarify, when you say she needs to be with me, you're not saying 100% of the time, you're still.
Oh no. I'm just saying that she needs, there's some things that you don't talk to your dad about that you talk to your mom about. That's all there is to it. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, she's going into middle school, which is hard. But
yeah,
I think she needs to be with her parents equal time, no matter what my opinion is of, you know, of Tyler's situation or your situation. I mean, you know, you both know that you can always come to me and ask for something if you need it, and you both have. And we always do help out for Savannah's sake. But for one person to have total custody over with Savannah, it's not right. The girl is already an emotional mess, and I've seen it. I've seen her break down. Because, you know, because daddy's not letting her see mommy, or, you know, or she wants to hang out this one and she can't, but she's got to go to the office, but she can't come over and go to the pool, you know. But, you know, that's kid stuff. But it would not be good for her. It would not be good for her to be with one parent and not the other. Not for her emotional well-being.
When you had mentioned being at the office, can you
Mhm.
elaborate on that? Like, how frequently, and what is that? I know Tyler already testified about having her at the office, but
Yeah.
what can you say about that?
The only thing I can say about that, without using her words, is when she FaceTimes me from the office, from looking at her, she looks very bored. And I'll tell her, I say, read a book, you know, bring a book with you next time. Read a book. I said, practice some of your timetables, you know, do something like that. So it'll help you get smarter at school, you know. But of course I can't tell you she doesn't like timetables, but you know.
Right.
But
and you also had mentioned her saying she wanted to go with me at a certain time. What can you say about an incident 2 years ago, even after the court, after an ex parte, because I was in the hospital, following them throwing out the ex parte, because I was out of the hospital. What did that look like? What did the weeks after that look like, as far as what Vanna was able to do, or where she was at?
Oh, she was with her father. She was with Tyler. She really is not able to do a whole lot, as far as, you know, because I can tell you what she says.
Was he allowing her to talk to me?
No,
Or
no,
me?
he wasn't allowing her to talk to you, not at all.
Okay.
Because she would,
Foundation.
as far as, pardon?
Understood. How do you know that there is a lack of her talking, or him allowing, not allowing her?
Because she was in the closet with her cousin, whispering, trying to call her mother because her daddy wouldn't let her. Did I
So
see
she
them?
can call you. Well, let me ask. She can call you at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, but she has trouble calling her mother?
Those are two different circumstances. The 10 or 11 o'clock at night are not at the same period as what was going on back then.
And
I
how
would
long
say-
ago was this?
The talking in the closet
Yes,
or calling me at night.
the talking in the closet.
That was just geez. That was when Holly, when she had that ex parte or whatever they call it. When
So that would
he-
have been in 2022.
Okay, so there is some foundation there, Mr. Chadwick, so I'll have to overrule that objection, but
Where is this closet? Is it at Grandma's house or at Tyler's house?
at Hillary's house.
who's Hillary?
My,
So that
my other daughter's home.
Okay, 'cause she was with her cousin.
Yeah, because we were
So
all
she
over.
wasn't with her father, but she wasn't
No.
allowed to make a phone call to her father
He-
or to her mother, but she was at her sister's house, her aunt's
He-
house?
He would let let her come to see her
Okay.
cousin.
But your
Ab-
complaint was that he wouldn't allow her to call her mother, but she was at her aunt's house.
I guess
Right.
here's my I guess
his phone on
guess
my
here's-
on my nephew's phone.
Mom, here
Yeah.
I'll clarify. So during that time, even after the judge had said, nope, resume normal parenting time, Holly's out of the hospital, and Tyler wouldn't at that point decided on his own to not resume normal parenting time and kept her for an extended period of time for over a month without allowing her to talk to me or see me or any of that. And during
Ma'am,
that time,
Miss Holly, you're not under oath. You're not testifying here.
Oh, okay.
Your mother is under oath. You need to
Right.
ask a question, ma'am.
Yeah, go
okay,
ahead.
so my question to that time was what you witnessed during that time that he had kept her for that extended period of time.
Well, I witnessed her very upset. He would bring her over occasionally. Like I would call him and say, "Why don't you bring her over? Bring her over while you go get your hair cut." And he would do that. Yeah, I'll give him that. He would do that, and just the happiness in her face to see people. I mean, she's such a good girl. And when she has to leave, and when she, for instance, when we're going to the corner to get ice cream or we're going somewhere to get ice cream, she wants to drive in the car with grandma and with whoever else is over. But she can't do that. She's got to go in the car with her dad, even though it's 2 blocks away. Or if we go to Meyer Garden, he's got to follow us and go. I mean,
Mom, there's a situation, and I don't want to cause an issue between the two of us, so we already both know how this played out. But
right.
during that time in 2022, when he wasn't when I wasn't able to see her,
Yeah.
can you describe what happened when we went to the Grand Rapids Museum?
Oh yeah. Yep. I called you and told you where we were at. So you could, because Savannah wanted to see you, if I'm allowed to say that. Savannah wanted to see you. When we got home, the police were there. The police were at my house with Tyler. Savannah was crying. There was a female officer that was also here. And she took Savannah into the back on the deck and was talking to her. And I don't know, I can't tell you what she said, obviously, but Savannah clearly didn't want to go.
When you say she didn't want to go, what do you mean by, like, she didn't want to go where?
She didn't. Tyler. She wanted to stay with her mom because she hadn't seen her mom and she wanted to stay with her mom. She wanted to stay with you. I can't tell you that the police officer said that too. Said, "Oh, the child doesn't want to go with her dad," but she did say that. which
Objection, hearsay.
I know, but
Agreed.
but
I just,
it's, I mean,
I'll
maybe,
note the objection, and I'll also note that, look, we've got no jury here. I know what hearsay is.
right.
Let's get the
Right,
testimony
that's why
elicited.
I was allowed to say, that's why I was hesitating to say, because I wasn't sure if I could say that or not.
Yeah,
But
I
I mean,
know. But you've
yeah,
spent more time telling me you can't tell me than you've told me.
I,
So that's why I'm trying to say,
would it
let's get
be,
this out. Okay.
would it be, what if I went down and got the police report of what they said, and then could she use that?
That's okay,
I,
Mom. It's not.
I
It's
was going
really
to say
not.
she would have to call the
all I,
police officer as a witness, ma'am.
all I can say is that she was very upset. That Savannah was very upset, and she was emotional. In my opinion, was an emotional wreck because she wanted to be with her mom. But that's any kid at that, at that age also wants to be with both of their parents.
As part of schooling, your own schooling,
Mhm.
have you taken any psychology, child psych, training or classes?
Oh, tons.
Okay. What can you say about the psychological impact of all this on Vanna, as far as, being not allowed to contact me, or even just what's going on right now?
Oh,
What can you say about that, just with your training?
with my training,
I mean, with your
I,
with your
I,
schooling and going through.
I would most definitely have Savannah in counseling, and which I'm sure I think she does still do counseling. It's I would
Do you think
say,
it's
what's that?
go ahead.
I would say in a professional setting that she needs to have some type of way to express her feelings without feeling as if she's being judged by one parent or the other. For instance, get a journal, write things down, don't hold it in, talk it out. And I
Right.
don't know if she has a journal or not, but I know I've bought her one.
All right. And what can you say about both of us, Tyler and I, our ability to support the relationship? So my ability to support her and Tyler's relationship, and his ability to support mine and Vanna's relationship.
I can speak to your ability because I've heard you encourage her, call your dad, tell him what's going on. I'm not with Tyler enough to say whether he does that or not. That I don't know. But I know that, so, don't say that either. Well, that from what I see, you've always talked positive. I mean, between you and I, we've said a couple things, but that's here and there. But in front of Savannah, I've never heard you say anything negative about Tyler. And with the opposite way, I have been around Tyler and have heard him say, like I've said before, oh, she's just stupid, or she's on drugs, or but that's all I can say about
All right. I don't think I have any more questions at this point.
it. I
Okay.
mean, I think it's
Mr.
good for be with both parents,
Yeah. Mr. Chadwick, any questions of this witness on cross-examination?
Ms. Nancy Wright, you are aware your daughter has type 1 diabetes.
Oh yeah, she's had type 1 diabetes since she was in second grade.
When she was in second grade, the only way to measure her blood glucose level was to prick her finger, take a sample.
Sure. At that point, because that's all that was available.
And now does she have a continuous glucose monitor?
I believe she has one of those now. Yes.
All
The
right.
new one now,
I
yes.
think it was visible when she was on video earlier during this morning.
Yeah, she does. She puts it in her arm. Yeah.
And are you married to Holly's father?
Yes. Yes,
When Holly was a child with type 1 diabetes, the two of you were responsible to make sure she had the right blood glucose level in the middle of the night and would sample her blood in the middle of the night. Is that correct?
if need be, yes.
If her blood sugar level went too low, isn't it true that she would not be conscious to do anything about that?
Before her blood sugar goes too low, she has an alarm.
She has
She-
an alarm now.
She has an alarm now. Yes, when she was sick and a child, I stayed right next to her. I stayed next to her in her room. And yes, I did check her blood sugar through the night when she was sick, because that's the only time that you really need to do it through the night, is if you're experiencing low blood sugars or high blood sugars. Not just low, but high also.
If she had a low blood sugar in the middle of the night, what would be the remedy? Would be give her fruit juice, candy, or soda?
Yes.
And with simple carbs to get her blood sugar back up.
Most like the liquids first, because the liquids get in your blood system faster.
And maybe coupled with a complex carb like milk or cheese that would slowly raise her blood sugar level.
Yep, that would be correct.
Have you ever seen her go too low?
I have, when she was a kid, yes, because as a kid, you don't want to be different than other kids. So you let things go as a kid, yes. As an adult, I haven't seen her go low. I mean, she hasn't lived with me for how many years, so.
All right. You were aware that your daughter does methamphetamines or has in the past?
Am I aware of it? No. Have I heard somebody say that? Has there ever been any proof of it? No.
The Kent County Friend of the Court submitted a document.
I guess I'm gonna object to anything that the front of the court would have submitted, because I don't know that that's even evidence. Or is
Well,
This was,
it depends on whether there's a foundation for it. Mr. Chadwick can
Okay.
ask the question, and I'll reserve on any objection.
Sure.
Please proceed, Mr. Chadwick.
yes, I'll find it here.
Was there suspicion of it years ago?
Excuse me,
There
Mr.
Yeah, hold on.
This is Exhibit 3 that was admitted on July 3, 2020.
Right, it's part of the court recommendation.
Both parties stipulated to its admission. It's now part of the court record. It's evidence.
July.
In this
Okay.
document,
Mr.
And
Chadwick?
in this document, it states that Holly was admitted to the hospital June 15, 2022. I'm reading on page 5 of 14 of the report.
Yep.
You were aware that she was admitted to the hospital on that date.
I was with her at the hospital. Yeah, I was with her that day.
You were aware because your granddaughter Savannah called you worried about her mother.
That's correct.
She was passed out in the living room with no clothes on.
From
According
what I was
to Anna.
told.
That's what you were told?
From what I was told. Did I see it? No.
Okay. The next sentence says both of Holly's sisters and her mother were present at the hospital
That's correct.
and stated concerns regarding Holly's methamphetamine use.
Stated concerns if there was any, not if there was any.
This report doesn't say if.
Don't know what to tell you.
Your testimony today is that you were not aware of her methamphetamine use that you were concerned about at the hospital on that date.
I object to that statement just because he's saying that.
Hold it. The objection's overruled. She can clarify her statement, but she's not denying the fact that methamphetamines were brought up as a concern.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
sorry. I was just objecting to the way that he said it, because he was just making it sound
Right.
like I definitely was, but
at the time, yeah, if because yeah.
The
If
next sentence Says they reported that Holly admitted to this use while speaking with medical providers at the hospital. You were there.
I was there, but I didn't.
Interrupt.
Holly,
Please.
I'm sorry.
Diane. Question
Sorry,
is, isn't it true that Holly admitted to methamphetamine use while she was at the hospital?
not to me.
Isn't it true that she admitted it to the hospital staff while she was at the hospital?
That's something you have to ask the hospital.
You were standing there, ma'am?
No,
So you did not hear those statements to the
I did
hospital
not
staff?
hear those statements. That is correct. I was not in the room with her 24/7. I was in the emergency room with her when she first came in.
Okay.
That was, and then the most other times I was in the hall with her children.
You were aware that Holly was tested for methamphetamine at the hospital
Yes,
and that that test was negative.
yes,
You were aware that she refused to sign a release to allow CPS to review her hospital records.
no, I was not aware of that.
Isn't it true that you told Tyler Coleman you recommended that he not allow Holly to have Savannah in the short term?
If the methamphetamine came back positive, yes, but it didn't.
That's not true.
Sir, your comments aren't helpful. You've been doing that every once in a while. Please stop.
Okay. You recommended that to him while he was at the hospital with you?
He wasn't at the hospital with me. Maybe he was at the, I don't recall him even being at the hospital.
So you recommended to Tyler that he take Savannah and not give Savannah to Holly for the short term until the test came back negative, and then you
I
changed.
answered that question. If the test came back positive, then yes, then yes. But it didn't. It came back negative. So
And the test came back while you were at the hospital,
okay.
but
Are
Tyler
you
was there.
Are you asking me that question?
But Tyler was not there at the hospital. Is that correct?
I did not see Tyler at the hospital. If he saw somebody else at the hospital, if he was there when I was not there, I can't say to that. I saw Tyler after the hospital at the park with Savannah and all the kids and all my other grandchildren.
So when did you have that conversation with him? Not at the hospital?
No, at the park with all the other kids. We had all the grandkids up at the park. Ada Christian School.
Background, he can't be with us. Okay. She is. It's okay.
You gotta go out of there. You can't be in here if you're gonna be a witness. You gotta go.
Yeah,
You gotta go.
I was gonna say, just for now, just
He's making his
just-
coffee. He's making a
problem.
cup. And you heard.
go make that cup of coffee. He didn't hear enough to be of any problem here, so.
I just got off a meeting.
Yeah,
All right,
he's
good enough, sir. Just don't be in the room while we're having testimony. Thank you.
Yeah, he's making coffee. So
All righty. Please proceed, Mr. Chadwick.
All right. You do know that CPS was involved in investigating Holly after this incident in June of 2022.
yes, I know CPS has been involved in their life since Savannah was born. Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna play a little game with you. I ask you a question. If it's a yes, you say
Sure,
yes. If it's no, you say no.
Okay.
We can do that.
Sure.
You know who Matthew Preston is? Yes?
Yes.
That is Holly's boyfriend, correct?
Yes.
Matthew Preston has a criminal record.
I'm not aware.
Matthew
I've
Preston
heard-
has no.
I've
Excuse-
heard rumors,
That
but
you-
I don't know for sure.
I didn't ask about rumors. I said, do you know he's got a criminal record? You said you're not aware. That's good.
Not-
That's your answer.
Okay.
Are you aware that he has no driver's license?
No.
Are you aware whether he has a job?
Yes.
Are you aware whether he contributes to the house payment?
No.
How about the electricity bill?
No. No, I don't know their financial stance. No.
Are you aware that Holly and Matthew and at times Savannah had to live in a hotel in the last 12 months
Yes,
because there was no water in the house
yes,
or no heat
no,
or no electricity?
nope. I just knew about the water.
All right. Did you talk to Holly about why she didn't have enough money to pay for those bills?
Yeah, because she was, yes,
And wouldn't you expect her boyfriend who lives with her to help pay for those bills if he has a job?
yes,
Holly has testified that they receive charity to stay in hotels. Were you aware of this?
nope,
Has Holly ever come to you asking for money so that she wouldn't have to stay in a hotel using charity?
yes,
Have you been able to help her with that?
always. I've helped Tyler too.
When in the last 12 months have you given money to Holly?
Uh, Jeez, just for the water bill? I gave her money the other day when we went shopping, but I don't think that counts because we were just out playing.
Did you misunderstand my question?
No, I'm just trying to clarify whether you're talking about money to pay bills or just money in general.
Here's
If
the
you're talking
question.
about, if you're talking about money in general, I gave her money last week because we were going out to lunch. If
I
you're talking,
want to confuse you. Let me ask the question more simply.
Thank-
And when in the last 12 months have you given Holly Wright money?
last week,
How much?
$20.
Prior to that?
Mm, oh, probably. Well, I didn't give it to her. Gave Savannah some money. Probably about a month ago.
How much?
Geez, I'd have to look on my bank account, but probably about 20 to $25. It's only always 20. It's always about that.
Are you working?
Yes. Well, not during, I don't work during the summer.
And how about Mr. Wright?
Oh, yes, he works.
Did you offer to give Holly money so that she could turn the water back on or the electricity or the heat, wouldn't have to stay in the hotel?
Me personally, no.
All right. Are you aware whether Mr. Wright, your husband, offered to give Holly money so that would be taken?
Yes.
He has done that?
As far as that's something you'd have to talk between him and Holly.
So you're not aware?
I'm aware that he gave her money, but whether she asked, he offered it to her, I can't speak to.
Okay. You stated that Savannah was seeing a counselor.
Yes.
You're aware the counselor was from the right door in Ionia County?
Yeah, I know it was in Ionia. I didn't know that's called the right door because I didn't know that. I didn't know what it was called.
How long have you been a teacher in Ionia County?
I've started subbing for a few years, and when Holly moved out to Ionia, I filled out my paperwork to sub out there. So I've only been subbing in Ionia for the last year and a half.
All right.
But and not on a consistent, maybe once a month, if that. I just do it once a bit. I just sub so I can be at the school with all my grandkids. I sub at other schools where my grandkids are. I did Ionia so I could be where Savannah's at, just so I can see her.
You have a college degree
Yes, sir.
in education?
Nope.
All right. You're aware that Ionia County used to have a government agency called Community Mental Health?
Nope. I'm not aware of that.
You're aware that the Right Door is the new name for Community Mental Health?
I am now, if that's what you're telling me. Like I said, I didn't know that was the name of it. Because I'm in.
When a child has a counselor, it's important to have clear, measurable goals. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
If the child was not getting along with her father, that would certainly be one of the top tier goals for counseling with that child, correct?
Sure, same with a mother.
Same with the mother. Are you aware that she has trouble getting along with her mother?
Nope, I've never seen it.
All right. If she's living with convicted felons in the house, let me establish that. You are aware that Paul Hester, Hester, is a convicted felon?
No,
You're aware that he's currently got a warrant out for his arrest?
no. I've never even met him.
Okay. You're aware that Matthew Preston's sister, whose first name is his cousin Kristen Preston, has been living in the house with Savannah and Holly?
Objection, because
No.
the state, I don't know if you can reword that, because he said has been living as if she's still living here.
Well, has been would be in the past. She didn't ask
Okay.
currently. So I think that's a legitimate question. The objection's overruled. Were you aware that Mr. Hester's cousin, I think it is, was living in the house at some point in time as well?
At some point in time, I knew she was there, but as far as her living there, I don't know. Because like I said before, I don't know Holly's moved out in Ionia for a few years now, and I'm not there every day.
All right. So that I'm clear, Matthew Preston is the boyfriend. His cousin is Kristen Preston, correct?
That's what I'm told. But okay. Yes, that's what I'm.
Have you met Kristen Preston?
Have I who?
Have you met Kristen Preston?
No.
All right. Are you aware that she has a dog?
No. I've never met her, so no, I do not. I'm not.
Are you aware that Kristen Preston had a dog named Karma?
I heard about a dog named Karma. As to whose it was, I don't know.
All right. You're aware that the dog was in the home and bit Savannah?
Yes, that I did know about. I didn't know Savannah got bit by a dog.
All right. So if Savannah were seeing a counselor and she was living in a home where her mother is living with a boyfriend who's a felon, and there's a dangerous dog in the home named Karma, the boyfriend's cousin is in the home, and the cousin possibly has a criminal record, wouldn't that be a concern to talk about with the counselor as well?
Well, sure. If all that was, of course, if Savannah needed to talk to it, yeah.
So counselors don't just diagnose mental health issues. Counselors sometimes teach coping skills.
Sure.
You're aware of coping skills?
That's why I said she should be writing things down in a journal just to get things out. Yes, I have coping skills.
So the child will hear things or see things in the mother's home that she has no control over, and she needs to understand why they're happening so that it's a defensive mechanism, coping skills. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of coping skills.
Okay.
But I've also, go ahead.
You're aware that you testified that Savannah was seeing a counselor.
As far as, yeah, she was. I don't know if she still is. I don't know.
All right. Were you aware that she's been discharged by the counselor?
No, that's why I said no. That I didn't know if she still was. No, I did not. It was not. And if she has, that's awesome.
Were you aware that your granddaughter has missed a lot of school or been tardy for a lot of school in the past school year, 2023 through 2024?
In the past school year, I was not aware of that. Only from listening to what Tyler said or, what Holly has said.
All right. The school truant officer has testified that 63 absences or tardies took place when Holly had Savannah the night before. Is that detrimental to Savannah?
I'm sorry?
Is that detrimental to Savannah?
If it's true, can I ask a question about that?
No.
Or no?
No.
Okay.
But I will tell you the truancy officer did testify to that and the dates matched up. Does that help?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just because I've dealt with some truant officers before, and I'm just wondering if that is one school year or if that is the entire school life.
So that you understand what's being asked of you and you can make a formulated decision. It was last school year.
Okay.
So can we agree that that is detrimental to Savannah's education?
I can agree to that. Yeah.
When a child is tardy, the child has to walk into a classroom full of students. All eyes tend to be on the child, or at least the child would feel that way, and then take her seat. And she's missed something, at least the beginning of the lesson. Is that your understanding?
Depends on how tardy they are. I mean, if they're like 5 minutes tardy, usually at the beginning of a school day, most teachers have like 15 minutes of preschool, you know, but they call it desk work. Some teachers call it bell work so that I can't answer to because I haven't witnessed it. So I don't know. I can't recall. I don't know.
Would you
But-
expect Savannah to take responsibility for the tardies?
Yes.
Would you expect Holly to take any responsibility for the tardies?
If she didn't get Savannah up in time, I would expect whoever to.
So when a child is tardy or absent 63 days during the school year, would you think that that would be something a counselor could help to teach coping skills when it's out of the child's control?
Oh, I do. Yeah, definitely. Because it depends on the age of the child, in my opinion. And
Now, can we also at least agree that if Tyler did not have a similar problem getting Savannah to school, it would be better for Savannah to be at her dad's house the night before school?
no,
Oh, you testified you gave some money to Tyler Coleman.
yes,
Was that years ago or within the past 12 months?
probably years ago. I don't know. I mean, I buy Savannah stuff when they lived together. If I may, when they lived together, I can compare Holly living with Matt to Holly living with Tyler. When they lived together, yeah, I gave them money to pay bills, just as I'm doing now. So to say that one is better than the other, that's just no. Yes, I've paid bills when Holly was living with Tyler.
So is it fair to
But
say,
have I recently given him money? No,
yeah, is it fair to say that was 2016?
because he had a job now.
Is it fair to say that was 2016 or sooner? Earlier?
Let's see, what year was, I gotta look at this calendar. Jackson was born in 2017. So probably the last time they lived together at the condos, whenever that was. I don't know the year. A few years ago, I guess, or 5 years ago when they lived together at condo. How long was that? 6 years ago?
I only live over there.
Oh, okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, Miss Wright, anything further?
Yeah. So as far as my need or my asking for money from you guys for things, can you explain why I wouldn't have my own money at this point? Why I would need assistance?
Yeah, because you're not working because of your, and because you're waiting for disability to kick in, which takes forever. That's why. I mean, that's it.
Okay.
Something out of your control.
All right. And as far as her, how in your knowledge, how does Savannah get to school in the morning, like last year?
She would walk,
Okay.
as far as I know. And
Go ahead.
as far as I know, she would walk with
And
the neighborhood kids. So,
okay, is that why you're saying that does that explain your answer to saying that it's in, it's her responsibility for
Definitely,
being
yeah,
tardy?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, kids, yeah, kids are gonna be kids, they're gonna be pokey, but it's, she's old enough now to know that she's got to do something, and you can't blame everybody all the time. When you get
Right.
old enough to take responsibility, you got to take it.
All right. When we were talking about counseling, Mr. Chadwick had said something about coping skills, her learning coping skills for things that she witnesses at her mother's house.
Correct.
Would it not be true that she could use those same coping skills for things she's witnessing at her father's house?
That would be true. Yes.
Okay. As far as Kristen Preston goes, when is the last time you heard either Savannah or myself mention Kristen Preston in
Oh
the
my God.
capacity that we've seen her or even talked to her or anything like that?
Oh, it's hard. It's forever. A few
Like
years.
within
A few years. I don't know, because I don't know who she is, and so we don't really talk about her.
the
The last I knew was that last time I heard about her was when you were going to, other than the lawyer talking to me right now, was when you were going to take responsibility for her daughter. I mean, so however many years ago that was.
and what did that look like? Did you see me with her daughter at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But did you see me with Kristen at all?
Never.
Okay. Sorry, what did you say? You were breaking
I
up.
said never. I mean, if she was sitting next to me at a movie theater, I would not know who she is. I've never seen her.
All right. I know you can't speak exactly words or anything, but did Vanna ever express to you any concern, or have you heard anything from her saying she was scared of her dog or scared of Kristen or anything to that matter?
No, never.
Okay. And what I'm not sure if she has or not, so if you don't know, you don't know, but when Vanna talks about that dog bite, has she explained at all? Have you heard her say anything about it being the dog being aggressive versus Savannah knowing that?
No, the only thing I know
Per se.
dog bite,
Say.
the only thing I know about the dog bite is when she got it, and me being the grandma telling her, "Oh, you're gonna be okay, sweetheart." But it's
Any
so
objection to hearsay is overruled. There were no statements made by the child. It was just, did she ever express? There was no direct statement.
no, not to me. No.
Okay.
This is kind of hard to do
So
on my.
going back to schooling and it being the question whether or not it was detrimental, her absences and tardies detrimental to Savannah. Would you agree that if it was detrimental, that she would not be moving on to 6th grade?
Yes, I agree to that.
Okay. And just from your experience, your own thoughts, not like with hearsay or anything in there, as far as Vanna missing school, like full days of school for anything, from your knowledge, how many times have you known that I've kept her home for something other than her being sick?
I haven't. I haven't.
On days that she's been able to stay home, for example, on a half day, when she's in Tyler's care, have you talked to her on those days of school or had to
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And do you recall ever having to message me and let me know that that Tyler had kept her home from school?
Yes,
All right. And in regards to you were saying something about playing games on the phone at night and stuff like that.
correct.
Whose care is she in when she's doing that?
Tyler's.
Okay. I apologize. I'm just looking at my notes. Make sure I'm asking everything.
I can't ask questions, can I?
No.
I know it.
All right. As a teacher for different school districts,
Yep.
when you look at absences or tardies on those sheets, I know you're familiar with those. How does that work with if they're absent in the morning versus absent in the afternoon versus a whole day?
When I'm substituting in a class, the schools give you a list of the kids, obviously, and you report their absence in the morning. After lunch, you again report their absence. Some schools take an afternoon and a morning and combine that as one day. Some schools say if you're absent in the morning, you're absent all day, even if you're there in the afternoon, and vice versa. So it depends on the school district, but every school that I've been to, I've always taken attendance in the morning and I'm taking attendance in the afternoon. Some kids are not there in the morning, but they're there in the afternoon. Some kids are there in the afternoon, they're in the morning, not in the afternoon. So
Right.
it depends on how the school, does their attendance. So I can't, like I said, all of them are different. So I don't, as far as I am, the school district goes, I take attendance in the morning, take it in the afternoon. How they report it is, I don't know.
Okay. Back to the incident where I was in the hospital.
Yes.
So isn't it true that while I was in the hospital, in the ICU, Tyler was able to get an ex parte order?
Yes. As far as I know, he was. Yes.
Extending his parenting time.
Yes, because you were in the hospital. Yes.
Okay. Were you aware that when I got out of the hospital, that ex parte order was we went to court and then the ex parte order was no longer in effect because I was out, and the issues of the reasoning for being in the hospital were addressed at that time?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. Was I aware of it at the time? I knew that the whatever you call the ex parte thing was not valid anymore because you were out of the hospital. But whether things were discussed as, that I don't know all the details of that.
Okay. You spoke about CPS being involved since Savannah was born. Can you elaborate on that as far as when you were first aware that CPS was involved?
I was first aware of CPS being involved with you guys before Savannah was even born because of some violence that had taken place and the other kids in the house.
Objection, that's hearsay.
It's not hearsay. I was there.
Hold it, ma'am. That's my
Yeah.
ruling, not yours.
Sorry.
Never mind. Let me do my job when I get a chance.
Okay.
It doesn't happen all that often, but I'm the one that calls balls and strikes. At this
All
point,
right.
I'm going to have to overrule the objection because there was no statement in there. It was statements of what
Okay.
her knowledge was.
Oh, violence.
What?
She has no foundation for alleging violence in the home other than what she was told.
That's not hearsay. We don't have a foundation. You're correct, but it's just a statement at this point. And at this point, nobody's testified to any violence in the home. So I'll take it as just a statement. I was kind of ignoring it at that point. Just as I'm ignoring most of the stuff that happened in 2016, 2017, 2018. I'm dealing with the stuff in the past year or two. Not
So-
all this stuff all the way back to the
Okay, well,
inception of the child.
in the past year or two, CPS has been to my home questioning my husband
There's
and my,
no question before you, ma'am.
oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
All right, please proceed, Miss Wright.
Have you witnessed any violence in the past, or violence either verbal or physical in between any of the parties in the past few years?
In the past few years, have I witnessed it? I have heard it. I've heard, like, if I'm talking to someone on the phone and I can hear what's going on in the background, I can hear it, but to actually see it with my eyes, no. But to
Okay.
hear it,
Can you describe what you would hear and what that would look like? Who you'd be talking to on the phone, where that would take place, without saying specific statements that you've heard, but can you kind of describe what that would entail?
well, I would be talking to my granddaughter on the phone.
And when was this, ma'am?
Probably, geez, a couple months ago, talking to my granddaughter on the phone.
Okay.
And
can you describe what you heard in?
I can hear in the background two people arguing. I could hear some very cuss words, the F word, which I don't like that word. I could talk to my granddaughter on the phone, telling from the tone of her voice, knowing that she was upset, and me trying to tell her it's okay, don't worry about it. Mostly I can't say what she said, but yeah, I mean, I can hear it, but I can't see it. So I don't know how else to answer that.
In your opinion, I don't know if I can ask opinion questions, but in your opinion, do you feel like Vanna's safe at both homes?
As far as a place to stay, I think she's safe at both homes. I mean, I can't say that.
What can you say about like with the environment at both homes? Again, not saying
the environment, home wise, as far as the environment, are you talking about physical? Yeah,
physical, mental, emotional.
Physical environment, she should, very well be at both homes. Mental environment, I think she should be at your home.
Can you elaborate on that? Why would you say that?
Because like I've said, ever since she was born, I've always said that she's been a possession and not a child in some people's eyes, in my opinion. And I also know that from what I've heard, not seen, from what I've heard when speaking to her on the phone, people arguing in the background and F this and F that, and calling your mom a B word in front of your daughter, or in this case, a grandma in front of your daughter is not acceptable, in my opinion. And yes, I have seen it. No, heard it. Yes.
In the past, so we've already talked about CPS involvement with violence in particular. As far as Savannah is concerned, what can you say, or what did you witness as far as CPS involvement with Savannah?
What did I witness? Well, CPS came to my home when
Has
you were
Vanna
released from
ever
the
had,
hospital. She never, oh, has she
has there
cried?
has there ever been any other time when the court given an
Yes.
ex parte or removed Savannah from either one of us?
Has the court, not that I'm aware of, no. I do
Um,
that,
this would
well, I was working at the school one time, they came to the school and talked to Savannah. which was-
what about when Vanna was 4?
Oh.
And CPS was involved?
When she was 4?
Yes.
Yeah,
3 or 4.
I was actually yeah, yep,
Can you, why was CPS involved at that point?
as far as I know, there was an allegation of touching.
Objection.
At this point, I'm granting it on relevance. I just kind of said I'm not going back that far, folks. And when your questions start with, I know we've already talked about this, I don't need to hear it 4 times. And some of this stuff I've heard 5 and 6.
I guess this is the first time I'm bringing this up, only with the relevant information that what happened during this incident, and they're
When
still in
she
the
was
same
4 and
bed.
she's now 11, 7 years ago.
Right. And it could have progressed at this point because they're still sleeping in the same bed.
That's your evidence. His evidence is she has her own bed.
She has her own bed that she can't use.
That's something I've got to vet out.
Okay.
Can I vet out for a second?
No, Mom, you can't unless
Okay.
it's a question I'm asking.
Okay.
Have you accompanied us to the Savannah to the YWCA for anything?
Yes.
And what did you accompany her there for?
The most recent one?
Anytime.
Anytime was when the first time, which when she was 4, but they said that wasn't relevant. The last time was when all of this nonsense, in my opinion, started about Tyler wanting her all the time.
Okay. And when you were at the YWCA, they gave copies of paperwork from a physical exam they did, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And isn't it true that that physical exam showed that she had there was evidence of her being broken, as well as statements that she had made?
Objection. These are leading questions.
Well, I'm trying to figure out why this hasn't come up before and when did this happen?
2017.
Okay.
This was 2017.
It was all unfounded by CPS.
I was going to say, if this was substantiated, we wouldn't be where we're at right now.
Be in prison.
From what you're stating, Nancy, right? Forgive me.
No,
This
that's
was
fine.
This was 2017.
That's what. Yeah, that's
You
what
said.
I.
You said most recent, indicating that it was somewhere closer.
No,
But
I
is
said
most recent in your
most
yeah.
Most recent. I said the most recent time was when all of this stuff with Tyler wanting Savannah all the time started.
And then you started talking about her not being
No,
intact. What is that from?
I didn't. I was answering a question. I didn't say that. Holly did. I was answering a question. That was from earlier. That was from 17. I agree with that.
Okay.
But I answered both questions that I was asked.
Miss Wright, move on.
So with that, do you think it would be, as a parent, in your opinion, do you think it would be appropriate measures to continue to sleep in the same bed when you were accused of touching your daughter?
No.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna take my phone with me. I'm gonna get Poppy's copy for him so he doesn't come in here.
Okay.
I'll put it here. You can come get it. Ted, your coffee's in the other room there. There. You can come get his coffee. Out of that room.
As far as encouraging Vanna to do, encouraging her growth and growing as a human. She's getting older kind of thing, and Tyler and I both, supporting her growing up.
Right.
Is there what can you say about that at both homes? Or not even at the homes, but just with both of us parents in general?
Wow, I can't really, because I see her with you, but as far as seeing her with Tyler, most of the time when I see her with Tyler, he'll bring her over and the kids will play and we'll sit and talk and do some sewing or something. But I've always seen her encourage her to, talk about her feelings and, tell her it's okay to say no and, stuff like that. But
what can you say about, encouraging her to do after school activities like cheerleading or dance or anything like that?
I know that she does choir. I know that she does choir, and I've witnessed that choir with her joking and laughing, and I've witnessed Tyler give her a dirty look, and I witnessed a smile from her face going, which did all I could do, not say anything. But I know that she wanted to do cheerleading. I know that she wanted to do basketball. I know that she wanted to do soccer. But why she didn't do that, I know that Tyler at one point when she wanted to do something even told me that she didn't need to do that because it's his parenting time and he's not going to give up his parenting time. He's spoken those words to me as far as when she wanted to do cheerleading. So
are you explaining it like
I don't call that encouraging her to do outside activities. And yes, that was just to make that clear.
What about any, again, just experience or things that you've witnessed or anyone expressing to you her interaction with friends at with both parents, as far as like allowing her to have friends or spending time with friends?
I think that I've seen Tyler has taken her to the movie with her friends. So and I know that you have, taken her to birthday parties and done stuff with her and her friends.
What about I'll stop it with friends. I just don't want to go,
I mean, there are certain friends that I wouldn't approve of, but only because I work in the school and I've seen how they act. But
the incident that happened when Savannah wrote on the playground, do you recall the response that both of us had as parents?
Could we have a foundation for this?
I was going to say, and when? When did this
This
occur?
was, this was
Let,
last
grade.
This
End
was
of
when?
fourth grade.
this was in 4th grade, so 2 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. You know, we're throwing stuff at the wall here at this point. Let's get to some conclusions and get to some actual things that might help the court. You guys are throwing in ancient history at this point, and you're going over and over it. So, you know,
I guess my point with this one is making sure she does the right thing. When she's in a situation where she's chose to do the wrong thing, what our response is as parents individually.
Okay.
and you would be the better person to testify to that, not your mother.
Okay. All right. The only other question, have you ever seen our house without food?
No.
No. And I think that's
Okay.
probably all the questions I have.
Mr. Chadwick, at this point, I'm releasing this witness.
That's fine.
All right, Miss Wright, you wanted to call your father?
Yes.
May I?
You switched places.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Can you just use my phone and I go in the other room?
Yep. You can stay in the room. Now that you've testified, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
What I try to do is not have testimony upon somebody else's testimony.
I gotcha.
In
I
other
gotcha.
words, if somebody's testifying and they hear your testimony, they'll
Then
either
it's-
try to build on it or correct it or add to it. I need their testimony,
Gotcha.
not their
Understood.
testimony built on others. That's why okay. All right. So yeah,
No,
you
that's
can,
fine.
you can
I'm
sit
gonna-
back, just stay off screen and have a cup of coffee.
But I like being on. I don't like coffee, but I'll have a cup.
All right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Mr. Chadwick, what's up?
Take a 3-minute recess.
Yes, we can recess momentarily.
Thank you. Right back.
Redundant witnesses. We don't want different people coming up to say the exact same thing. Unfortunately, I just noted in the last witness, it's like, I've heard some of this stuff 4 and 5 times now. I don't mind hearing it once or twice to make sure I get driven home. The 3rd time, great, drive it home. But by the 4th and 5th time, it's getting a little bit like, okay, I've heard this. Let's move on because all you're doing is taking up time. And again, I will rewatch this. I will also note that some of the stuff that's so old, yeah, they may have been bad, but at the same time, since those allegations were made and Child Protective Services was involved, there's almost a joint physical custodial environment between these two parties, which means CPS found it not relevant or it's become irrelevant. There may be some concern currently, but there are no current or new allegations in such light. So I'm just trying to, rehashing old stuff is not going to help the court. I'm trying to get to what's happening here and now and trying to do what's in the best interest of this young lady. And no offense to the parties, I don't really care about either one of you. I want to do what's in the best interest of your daughter.
Right.
That's what's important. So with that noted, I don't want to dismiss this witness saying he's going to say the same thing his wife said. So I'm going to give you a shot, but let's not cover the same territory. You can get a couple of questions from his perspective of some of the things. But, how, Ms. Wright, you have gone on and on some of this stuff. Matter of fact, one of the last hearing dates, about half of it could be thrown out because it was just redundant. But we're trying to give you the leeway because I realize you're not represented by an attorney. I'm just trying to explain this because I don't want to go to day 5, and that's where we're headed. Okay. Again, we've called the case, and we'll change the name from Nancy Wright to Mr. Wright. What is your name? Your first name?
Ted Wright. My
Ted.
full Teddy Dewey Wright Jr. But
okay, we'll go with Ted. TED, right?
Yep, TED, not EED,
right.
not ED.
My clerk was typing fast. We're gonna label you so you're not Nancy. So it's Ted TED. There you go. Yep. Thank you. All right, Ted Wright. God help me. See how bad the morning's gone? All right, Mr. Wright, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in giving testimony?
I do.
All righty. Holly Wright, please proceed. Again, you're questioning your father. Tread carefully.
Gotcha. And I don't, not with
I don't want to be like redundant with things,
we're gonna give you some leeway. I just wanted to see if
okay.
I could curtail some of it. I know
Yeah,
I can't
I got
curtail
it.
all of it. So
All right. Dad, can you describe the relationship that you've witnessed between myself and Savannah, as well as between Tyler and Savannah?
Yeah, nothing like starting right off with the main question there. Yeah, I think we want to stick probably to current day, or you want to go all the way back?
well, in the past year or two.
Well, I
We're
think,
dealing with the past couple of years.
yeah, I guess I'll qualify it by saying that I've got a great relationship with both, obviously my daughter and with Tyler. I consider them, I love them both. Their family. I care about them both, but mainly, I'm glad I've had an opportunity to speak here. Like you said, Your Honor, it's all about Savannah. I think they both deeply love Savannah. I think they both deeply care for Savannah. I think they have two different styles in terms of how they obviously their personal relationships with Savannah. I think Holly has and always Holly has always done a great job of being responsible from an early age and taking care of things. And Holly she's going through issues with her diabetes, and I know she's got some eye issues. I know that but she loves Savannah and she does a great job, and she always does what's best for Savannah and in Savannah's best interest. And Holly always makes her decisions and acts in a way and responds to situations in a manner that is best that is best for Savannah. So I'll say that. I guess the one thing that I would say about Tyler is that sometimes I've noticed behavior that exposes Savannah to circumstances and life situations that you'd question why would you do that? Let's to take it to another level and let's do what's best for Savannah. Now, if you need concrete examples of that, I guess I could go into that. Now, I love them both, and I know that they both do a great job with Savannah, but they're two totally different relationships. Am I answering your question, Holly, or am I actually addressing the things that need to be addressed? Because I don't want to.
Yeah. As far as
confrontate, I just want the truth to be there.
Right.
And
yep. As far as making Savannah's life easier and flow better, what can you say about that with the example of like her birthday? Like, how did that?
Yeah, I think you were looking for a little leeway from Tyler there around the fact that she had all of her cousins and all of her family, and it crossed over at a time when he had to be handed off to her, and probably he could have been a little more lenient about that, and is that what you're getting to?
Yeah, but can you explain that day in particular, like what that looked like how that birthday celebration played out?
Well, it was my understanding that that Savannah had to go. You're talking about when we were up at Vitale's. Well, Savannah had to get back to Ionia by 4:00. And at the same time she got there, but the way that I understood it, the way that you explained it to me, was that Tyler was going to turn right back around and come right by where we were at to go back downtown. So the handoff could have taken place right there. And instead it had to turn into be this awkward thing for Savannah that I just don't understand why that.
And kind of where I was going with it was the effect on Savannah, where, I'm trying to make it an easy birthday and not cause an issue. What can you say that you noticed about Savannah's response to that situation?
Well, you could tell that it impacted her from an emotional perspective, and then it was awkward for her, and she was disappointed. And I don't know why I don't know why she should ever be exposed to those type of things. And that's something that, whenever a decision is made, the decision should be made as to what is best for Savannah, not a decision made based upon, oh, how can I hurt this other person? How can I make their life miserable? How can I, and I see a lot of those decisions being made where the decision is not necessarily what's best for Savannah, but what, how can I make things. Now, this is based upon what I see, guys, and the experiences that I've had. So I'll say.
Where do you see those, like, from what party, like what side do you see those decisions being made in that way?
Tyler's side. You, Holly, I think I've never, now we can all make bad decisions and we can go there, but a lot of stuff in the past, but Holly, you have always done what is best for Savannah. You've bitten your tongue. You've taken verbal abuse. You've taken stuff that people shouldn't have to take. And it comes out of childness. It comes out of immaturity. And I think to a certain extent, it comes out of meanness for whatever reason. But I think you, Holly, do a great job of always putting Savannah first. I think Tyler loves Savannah. I think he's establishing a relationship with her that as she gets older and gets up in those teen years, he needs to be very careful, because that's going to become a very contentious relationship. But I see him make decisions based upon not what's in her best interest, but he makes decisions so that it'll make your life miserable, which in effect makes her life miserable. And that poor kid has to sit there and say, well, why does he say this? Why does he do this? Why do I have to be put in this position? Now, this is all, guys, based upon what I've seen in my experience.
How about with as far as like schooling goes, have you, and this is, I don't know if you've seen both sides of this at all, but as far as like encouraging her to do homework or schoolwork, or working on reading, things like that, from both sides.
I know that you call me often, and so with Savannah, we'll work on math problems. I know that you have reading and math assignments that you've sent over that I've worked with Savannah on math. I know that school is very important to her education is very important to you. And I think you do the very best that you can do to make sure that she's in school, gets to school, is active in school, is trying to progress in school. I'm not saying that, I don't have those. I've never been on a Zoom meeting or on a meeting with Tyler that was focused on her schoolwork.
Okay. What about
now? Having said that, I will say that I've been out to ball games with Tyler, and I've been to things that socially enrich Savannah.
And what does that look like, their interaction? Is it appropriate for a child and an adult parent figure, or in your opinion, or is it more of a inappropriate interactions that you've witnessed? And this, again, it's just what you've witnessed.
Well, I think I've already touched on it, but I can only speak to what I have witnessed, and from what I see. And I've already said it, that I think as she continues to grow and mature into a young woman, you've got to be real careful with that relationship, because the I've seen a lot of inappropriateness and inappropriateness in this, and I've already touched on it in the fact that decisions were made and instances were, things were put into motion based upon a decision to do harm to you, which in essence does harm to Savannah, instead of doing what is in the best interest of Savannah. If
I object. Yeah,
go ahead.
What's the basis of the objection?
This is all redundant. The motive behind Tyler's decisions,
Well,
we've been told
some of it is redundant. Some of it is his observations of the interactions between Tyler and Savannah. So I'm going to overrule the objection, but at this time, I gave my speech about redundancy, and some of it was, but there was some that he observed, not any other witness has observed it, about the interactions between Savannah and Tyler at, as he said, ball games and other enriching activities. So, and he said he had some concerns about the interactions, but he may elaborate on those, and we'll let that go where it can, and then I'll let you cross-examine, Mr. Chadwick. Please proceed, Ms. Wright.
Just in the sake of not being redundant, I don't think I have any other questions.
Okay.
All
righty. And at this point in time, Mr. Chadwick, you may cross-examine this witness.
Mr. Wright, you talked about the birthday party. Was that this past year that Savannah had a birthday?
Yeah, just last week. And she has one every year, but the one we're talking
yeah, they do tend to come around that way.
Yeah. The one I was speaking to specifically that Holly had questioned me about was the one that happened. So that, and it speaks to recent activity, and I know, Your Honor, you said that we don't want to dwell on things.
Right. Okay. So it was the recent one. So, all right, now that we know which one it is.
My question is, was this a birthday party that was planned by Holly to have the cousins over? Was that your testimony?
I would assume that Holly planned the party. I was invited. So I don't, is your question who planned the party? I don't know.
Yeah, Dad, if you don't know, you can just say that you don't know, or you
were attending the party?
Okay.
I was at the party.
And the party took place in another town, not Ionia?
The party took place in Ada, where the majority of the attendees live.
What was the location in Ada?
Vitale's.
Okay. So lunch was planned there. When did you arrive?
I arrived, I think it was afternoon. That's all I can say. It was afternoon, and it was before 4, because I know that the party was curtailed by having to rush her back out to Ionia.
So you were told to be there before 4?
I was told to be. I wasn't told anything. I was invited to a birthday party.
What time did the invitation say to be there?
It might have been 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock.
Okay.
It was afternoon. I don't remember the exact time.
So any reason that Holly wouldn't know that the parenting time exchange on the child's birthday would be 4 p.m.?
I think we've already established that we knew that the handoff had to be at 4 o'clock. And I think that's in question. I think what I brought into question was the fact that.
Sorry, I didn't ask that. I just said it's a yes or a no. You would expect that Holly would know when the parenting time exchange was. Your answer is yes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and Holly would have known, yes or no, that it was in Ionia where the exchange would take place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And can you tell us, isn't it true? Ada's about 30 minutes from Ionia.
That is correct.
So there's no need to rush back to be in Ionia at 4. If everybody knows that Savannah's got to be at her dad's house at 4, we can leave early enough to get there by 4. Is that right?
What I'll say is it takes about a half hour to get to Ionia. I'm not understanding your question.
Let me set the record for this. If you know when exchanges are going to be done, you don't plan a party that's going to interfere with the exchange and then ask for the exchange to be moved because of plans you made. It's kind of hard to complain about it on the one. It's kind of
Yeah,
hard to complain about it on the one hand when the times are set, and that's
Yeah, but
that's the
let's
gist of it.
level set. Let's level set here and put Savannah's best interest at heart.
No, putting Savannah's best interest at heart would be to provide and to plan the party appropriately. That's otherwise you're setting Savannah up for being disappointed, and that's the problem. You know, you don't set this up and then complain about it later and say, "Well, the child was disappointed because of something you planned."
Anybody was no, hang on. Let's not put words in Holly's mouth. I don't think anybody was complaining, and I don't think Holly was complaining. You guys asked me about observation, or Holly asked me about observations of parenting. Right. And I pointed to what is the most recent example of a situation that didn't have to happen for whatever reason it happened.
You're right. It didn't have to happen.
Could Holly have planned it the day before? Yeah, sure. But I'm just speaking to the reaction, and what you're right, both ways. It didn't have to have the birthday party didn't have to happen, right?
No, the birthday party could have happened. It should have been planned in such a way that it didn't interfere with the exchange. And that's I've got a lot of people that inadvertently set their children up for disappointment and then try to point fingers at the other side.
All you guys are doing is just validating the point that I was making. I wasn't
I understand, but I just wanted to say here's the reality, and that's the reason for the question. And that's why we needed to know when this happened, and because that was the one question I had.
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
All righty, Mr. Chadwick, if you care to proceed.
You said something else interesting, and I wrote it down. You said Holly makes sure Savannah's in school, gets to school, is active in school, and progresses in school. You recall making that statement under oath?
If that's what I said, then yeah. Well, I said it, about 7-8 minutes ago? Yeah, I remember saying that.
Okay.
Yeah, even my memory can go back that far.
Yeah, me too. Can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I remember that.
You got it. Same here.
We have heard testimony and we've seen documents that in the past school year, 2023 and 2024, Savannah was late for school or absent from school 63 times when she was at Holly's house the night before.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen I just have to take you at your word. I haven't seen the evidence. I don't know what the 63 represents. I'm an engineer. I'd have to take the data and find out. I'll take your word.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And
he wants it in Excel format.
Yeah. It is Holly's responsibility to get Savannah to school. Correct?
It's both of it's all of our responsibilities to get Savannah to school.
Okay.
But our responsibility is to make sure that Savannah gets a good education.
When Holly has Savannah the night before school, it's Holly's responsibility to make sure she gets to school. Correct?
If Holly is with her at school time in the morning, if she has her the night before and Tyler picks her up in the morning, it's Tyler's responsibility. But the night before she goes to school, it's Holly's responsibility to make sure she gets to bed on time.
Okay. And if she spends the night at Holly's house, wakes up at Holly's house, and then heads off to school, and it turns out she's late, or she never makes it to school, that's on Holly, not Tyler. Is that correct?
I agree. Yes.
All right. So wouldn't it make sense for Savannah to spend the night at Tyler's house the night before school rather than about 50-50, which they have right now?
Why? I mean, I don't understand the question. What you're asking me to.
I'll get back to that. Let me ask you this. Is it good or bad for a child to miss 63 days of school in a school year?
And I don't know what the word would be called, because I think there was a difference between 63 missed and versus full days absent and tardies.
The testimony is already on there. She was either tardy or missed school 63 times. I can't remember how many absences versus how many tardies, but both were excessive. and they were all testified to happen on your time. There was a few days, I believe, on Tyler's time, but those were accounted for and excused, and they weren't that many. So so that I did the same thing with your mom. Now your dad knows that the testimony has shown that as of now.
Can you
Well,
and I both?
I
Mr.
think we all agree that attendance is, you got, so yeah, you shouldn't be tardy. You shouldn't, I had perfect, when I was going through grade school, I had perfect attendance, guys. At least I was there. So yeah, I mean, if it's a systemic issue, then it's something that needs to be fixed. I don't think it's, kids shouldn't be missing school. Shouldn't be late for school, shouldn't be missing school. I can't speak to the quantity or the number. But I'll stand by. You brought into question my testimony and my exact words from earlier.
Well, you're going to go with what you understand. And what you understand is that it was being done. Now you've just been informed that not necessarily, but it was not to your knowledge. It's not that you're not telling an untruth or anything. You're telling it from your viewpoint. For as far as you knew, she was getting to school. Now you know that there's evidence that that wasn't the case. And now we need to proceed, Mr. Chadwick.
I guess I'm struggling a little bit with the number 63 because I don't see how you missed 63 days of school and you still passed the grade. So
to be blunt, sir, that's mainly the predominant reason why we're here is this young child was involved with the truancy department and the fact that she had missed so many days and those days were on Miss Wright's time.
Can I clarify something? The truancy was actually from the year she had COVID. That's what the truancy officer had testified to.
Some of it was while she had COVID. The other testimony is that's not during the time period that she had COVID.
How did she do this past year, guys? I think we want to focus on
the 63 days.
So this in the
2023, fall of 2023, spring of 2024. That's what the school records show.
And has somebody actually broken that down in terms of?
Yes, they did.
Late, absent? How many total days?
I don't remember because that was on day one of the testimony several months ago, which is why I rewatched these hearings.
Well,
but into evidence is the school records as well that indicate precisely exactly how many tardies and exactly how many absences.
Well, you've stated yourself, Your Honor, that that's really the main reason we're here. So I would think that those facts would be up first and foremost in our minds, and we'd understand exactly.
They would be, but right now I'm dealing with testimony as it's ongoing. I'm on day 4 of this trial.
Okay, I didn't mean to be offensive at all, sir.
No, it's not. It's not that you're offensive. It's just that to let you know that's why I rewatch all of these hearings because. I've got 4 days of trial that have gone over 2.5 months, so I will have to rewatch and I will go through every exhibit once again with fresh testimony before I make a decision.
Well, let's think about this. So the majority of the days when Savannah goes to school, she is with Holly, or is it 50?
The ones that were the testimony and the date correlation showed that they were all on her time.
Okay, but is she with Holly 90% of the time? When she has to school, I think those are the statistics you need to look at.
The statistics I need to look at is that she was late and or tardy 63 days, all while on the mother's time. I mean, that's what brought us as the main change of circumstances.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The facts are what they are. I'm the one who's got to make a decision on it after I hear all the testimony.
I'm with you.
Okay. So yes, I will be looking at that a lot closer. I did look at it closely that day, but the breakfast this morning is not on my memory and neither was the exact times and days.
So the attorney asked me, and I apologize, I can't remember your name. He asked me if I think Savannah should be with Tyler. I think that's bigger than just the school. And I understand that you say that that's a very important aspect of it. But I think overall, you need to look at what's best for Savannah. She's got to get to school. So I think, is she going to be taking the bus next year to get to school or what? Holly, how do we know that this is not going to happen again next year? I
Unfortunately,
that I
unfortunately,
can-
sir, you don't
yeah,
get to
I
ask
can't-
questions.
Yeah, that's
You're
just
the
in
one
my
under oath.
testimony, Dad.
Okay.
Yeah, sir, you're the one under oath. She's the
hear you.
one asking the questions.
I hear. Sorry, Holly.
They told me the same
That's okay.
thing.
I was just trying to put everybody on the same footing as we were going forward. So that's all I was trying to do.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
please proceed, Mr. Chadwick.
I have no further questions.
All righty. In that case, I'm going to go ahead and excuse this witness. Any
And
further witnesses, Miss Wright?
No, but do I have a chance to re-ask him?
Okay,
a
I'll
couple
let you, well, he's still here, so go ahead and ask him a couple things.
Okay.
Sure.
Are you aware how Vanna gets to school in the morning at times? Not saying every time, but what's your impression on how she gets to school?
It's my understanding that you drop her off sometimes, and then I know that she has walked quite a bit. She's walked to school quite a bit.
Okay. And then back to her birthday party. Is it not true that, and maybe I don't want to like ask it a confusing question or anything, but is it not true that Tyler was called as we were ending the party?
Yes.
And isn't it true that I was rushing, I was saying, hey, we got to leave, we have to leave so we can make it back by 4.
Yes, that's true. Yep.
Okay. And I agree that it was super last minute. But isn't it also true that Tyler was invited to lunch so that we could do it all together?
Yes.
Okay. And did he show up for that birthday party?
No.
Okay. And in your opinion, did birthday party versus family lunch, what would you describe that as? Was it more of a birthday party or was it more just a family lunch at Vitali's?
It was a birthday party. It was a birthday party.
Where invitations were sent and it was like a planned out thing, or was it more of just a lunch with family?
Well, it was all family there and it was lunch, so I guess
Okay.
it was a birthday lunch, I guess. There was a birthday cake there. And
I guess I'm just getting like where invitations weren't sent out and
oh no, it wasn't like a formal where you're sending out invitations or that. No, I guess that's what you're getting at is no, it was just family getting together to show love to Savannah and make her feel special, important on her birthday.
And just no hard feelings, but I know we ended up being late getting back here. At the end of that party, what was happening when we actually had called Tyler for the several, like the 4th or 5th time? What was going on at that point right before we left?
Are you talking about rushing, taking the photos?
Yes. Okay, so I'll reword it. Isn't it true that we ended up leaving later to come home because you were taking pictures?
Well, everybody's always late because I'm taking pictures. I take many pictures.
And isn't it true that
Stay tuned for the final installment of this case with day 5 and 6. It's linked in the description box below.